Hi everyone, Nova here from Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counselling Service with another live stream Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Q&A broadcast. Thanks so much for joining me here today or tonight, wherever you are in the world. Guys, it's wonderful to have you back. For those of you who are new to this forum, I'm Nova. My passion, my area of expertise is in working with victims and survivors of narcissistic abuse. And it's lovely to have you here. I'm a counsellor, a professional counsellor here in Brisbane, Australia. And if you're wanting that little bit of extra support, please just contact me here and I would love to be able to support you in your healing journey from narcissistic abuse, no matter where you are in the world. Okay, everyone, please do what you always do, which is to comment your questions below, say hi, say whereabouts in the world you're tuning in from, and promise to answer as many questions as we possibly can. Now, David Demars, I'm very excited to say, is joining us here today here in Brisbane. As soon as I see David, I'm going to let him in. Sometimes that takes a couple of seconds. So in the meantime, I'm just going to say a few hellos. We've got Debbie Horn is there. Hey, Debbie. Katina Harris from Utah. Maxine Lorraine is there. Barbara Erickson is there. Rory Wright from Ohio. Sonia Ward from Texas, all the way from Texas. Sula Mataragas. Oh, I'm so sorry Sula. Yeah, I'm so sorry if I'm not saying that correctly, Sula, but it's wonderful to have you here. Debbie Horns from North Carolina. Wonderful to have you here, Debbie. Okay, let me just have a quick look out for David. Where are you, David? Okay. David, just say hi so I can see you there, and I'll let you in as soon as I can see you. Can't see you yet, David. Where are you? Okay, David, you might, if you've said hello already, you need to say hello again because I can't see you there to let you in. But while we're waiting for David, I'll just say a few more highs. We've got Sonia Word is there. Hey, Sonia. Sonia's from Texas, and we've got Melanie Sales is there from Texas as well. Hi, Melanie. Okay, David, I'm looking, and I still can't see you. Where are you? Okay. Just talk amongst yourselves, guys. Facebook always likes to do this to us every time we bring on a special guest. We've got Liz Thomas is there. Hey, Liz. Okay, and Jade Milestone is there from Virginia. Hey, Jade. Okay, where are you, David? Okay, I'm just going to have to wait till we see David. So while we're waiting for David to join in the live stream, he might be having some trouble. I guess it's there are going to be problems every now and then when you're talking to someone who's in the other side of the world. You can't expect everything to go smoothly every single time, and Facebook likes to throw us a curveball every now and then. Okay, so guys, just comment your questions, and David and I, as soon as he gets on, we'll do our best to answer as many as we possibly can. Okay, I'm just going to have one more look for you, Dave. Oh, there you are. I finally saw you. Okay, bring David on. And there you are. Hey, David.
Hi, Nova. Hello.
How you going?
Good. Good, thanks. How about yourself?
I'm really well. I thought just a split second there that we weren't going to be able to connect tonight. There was going to be some drama. But yeah, I'm so glad that you're able to be here.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it took you a while to see my message, I think.
Yeah, I know. Facebook. Ugh, it's never easy, is it?
No.
Okay, so David, for those of you who are, I guess, new to these live streams, please welcome David Demars. David co-hosts the show every few weeks, and it's wonderful to have David here. He's an absolute wealth of knowledge when it comes to narcissistic abuse recovery. He's got his own YouTube channel, which I'm sure he'll tell you about later on, but David's going to, yeah, to help answer your questions tonight. So David, was there anything you wanted to kind of talk about or to discuss before we kind of get into answering questions? Anything that's kind of been really prevalent in your practice lately?
I hadn't thought about it till you just asked me now, but I think the biggest thing I'm getting a lot of questions about is family, narcissistic parents, stuff like
Yeah,
that. I've been doing a lot of
yeah,
videos about them.
yeah. Okay, so yeah, I'm sure there's many of you guys out there who have narcissistic parents. It's not just intimate partners, is it? That's, you know, I get that. I get asked that a lot. You know, why don't you talk more about families? Is it just, you know, intimate partners that can be a narcissist? And you know, we know that anyone can be a narcissist, and a narcissistic parent is not just abusive to their partner; they're abusive to their children as well.
Yeah, I think our first experience of relationships, right, is in childhood with our parents, and they really teach us how to have relationships. So coming into adulthood, I think especially the relationships we're having right out the gate kind of mirror the relationship we had in childhood with our parents. And I think drawing those connections can be very healing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can look at both sides of the coin with regard to a narcissistic parent is going to role model those abusive, violent behaviors, psychologically violent behaviors. So they're going to role model that and perhaps lay the path out for a child becoming narcissistic as well, and or they're going to teach other siblings, other children, that that's what love's all about, that love and abuse go hand in hand, and they're going to, as you said, as you just said, I guess, go out in later life and look for relationships that are familiar to those toxic relationships when they were children.
Yeah, and this can be really difficult to identify. I think addictions are a lot easier to see this kind of pattern. My father's an alcoholic. I'm dating alcoholics. What's going on? Or I'm an alcoholic. Those kinds of things can be a lot easier to identify than this kind of emotional neglect, emotional abuse. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you who do have a narcissistic parent or parents, we call you guys ACONs. That's an acronym we use, which stands for Adult Child of a Narcissist. And there's support out there for you guys. And David, I've said this before, I believe that children of narcissists actually have it probably the worst, if there is such a thing, in that they've had this conditioning to be obligated to fill the narcissistic parent's needs from basically the day they leave the womb, and that doesn't stop when you become an adult. In fact, it gets worse because you've been conditioned for so long, and you've got that obligation and guilt if you do anything, you know, for yourself, or you do anything that makes them look inferior to you, because you've always got to be less than.
Yeah, really serving others and not being there for ourselves, big time. The people pleaser, the enabler, all these different titles come from this, the narcissistic parenting. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it doesn't help that, you know, there's that kind of unwritten code in society that says you can't, you know, go no contact with your parents. They gave birth to you. And what does this do? It perpetuates the abuse. It victim blames. It puts you back in the abusive environment and makes you feel guilty for wanting to leave it because they're related to you. as the parent probably has told them a million times as they were growing up, they brought you into the world.
That's right. Yeah. With a
And
certain
you owe them.
responsibility that you have to them. And this causes a lot
Yeah,
of guilt when trying to leave the family, just trying to live your own life, just trying to leave the nest. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so no one has the right to abuse you, whether it's a parent, a child, no one. It just because you're related doesn't give someone the right to abuse you. And if someone's telling you that you can't leave your abusive, toxic environment because of DNA, because you're biologically connected to that person, then you tell them to go jump in the lake.
Yeah. And
That's my two
neglect
cents
is
worth.
abuse. I think that's important to understand that neglect is abuse. And I'm talking about emotional neglect. And that's where it gets, I think, really confusing. Like you were saying a
Yeah,
minute ago about parents that provide and place importance on physical things. And so, we look good to the whole world, to the neighborhood. We're
yeah,
successful financially, and we've got a nice house and clothes and cars and go to the best schools and hospitals and churches. And this can be
yeah,
very confusing for a child because the importance is placed on those things and we
yeah,
have them. And so neglect, not knowing something, not seeing what we didn't have, I mean, makes it really hard to identify these things. And that's how we
yeah,
break this up. Yeah.
yeah. Absolutely. Really good point, David. Okay, let's find some questions. Do, 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 do. Um, okay, we've got Francesca Gully is there. Hi, Francesca. Francesca says, I cannot help my anger and my own disappointment for I have given more than I've ever taken and trusted so very much. Yeah, that's why Francesca was chosen. That you were the perfect target. Hey, David.
Yeah. Yeah, to be in relationships that aren't equal, that we must perform or give to get anything we receive, and being comfortable with not receiving what we needed. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's an incredible power imbalance there, but there's this. I wouldn't call it beautiful, but there's this kind of dance that the empath and the narcissist do together, where they're intertwined, where the empath gives until they can give no more, and the narcissist takes. So it's kind of like, the perfect union for the narcissist, but then empath ends up depleted, and the narcissist, when you're depleted, just moves on. And when you see them without anything changed in their life, supposedly happy, and you're just a crumpled heap, of course you're going to be angry.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think real narcissistic parents, I think they grow up in their own childhood, uh, feeling this, that they're not equal, they're not important, and growing up maybe not liking children. I think a lot of people who don't like children, if you ever, I mean, we all seen this. People that don't care for children, don't like them, look down on them, believe they aren't equal, and that shows a lot about their own childhood, how they were treated unequally, like they're bad, they're not as important as anybody else. Yeah. And I mean, I
Yeah,
always refer to anger not being heard, not being seen in childhood, things like this. And I always refer to Helen Keller, who couldn't see, who couldn't hear, who couldn't talk. And she, I mean, massive rage, massive anger. I think that's the best way to make a child angry.
yeah.
Yeah.
um, yeah. I think we need to be told that it's okay to express our anger. It's about what we do with it. Clearly not turning it on ourselves, but directing it back at our abuser is also not beneficial in, I guess, being able to move on, because they don't care. They want you to be angry because it means they're still inside your head. But being angry is necessary. It's part of the grieving process. You're allowed to be angry, and you should be angry at what was done to you. You were violated, but it's what we do with that. You use it as a stepping stone. Use all the energy from that anger to propel you forward.
Yeah. Our emotions are a big part of who we are. And I think a lot of people watching this have been shamed for our emotions, especially somebody that makes you angry and then shames you for being angry. And anger is not bad. Anger is just like joy and happiness aren't good necessarily. They may feel good and the other feels bad, but there's no good or bad, wrong or right emotions. And we need to learn to accept our emotions. That's the only way to express them in healthy ways. Anger is a powerful emotion, and if we express it the wrong way, we tend to be maybe violent or scare other people. But anger
yeah,
in itself is not a bad thing. Yeah, and I think
yeah,
a lot of that being shamed of your feelings, and we feel ashamed of our own feelings,
yeah,
and that's where problems begin right there, big time.
yeah. I think the problem that narcissistic abuse victims have is that they were, with the gaslighting and the projection and every other strategy that the narcissist engages in to make you go crazy. When you react, when you get to that, that point where you do exactly what you were conditioned to do, which is you boil over in whatever way that is, you're told that it's like, see, you're the crazy one, and you, being a normal person with a normal range of emotions, you have remorse, and you feel guilty, and you're being told by this person that emotion is wrong. So yeah, especially anger can be something that the narcissistic abuse victim struggles with.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, not having empathy, if we're talking about real narcissists. They don't care. They don't understand how you feel. Yeah, and
Yeah,
you're not allowed to express yourself. Be your own self, right? If they're happy, you be happy. If they're angry, that's when you're supposed to be angry, I think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Actually, that's probably something that it would be good to talk about, David, in the fact that we know that you can never really be on the same emotional playing field as the narcissist, and there's a reason for that. In that, if you guys will know, if you're happy about something, you're looking forward to something, a special occasion, a holiday, a birthday, something like that, and you're all excited. If you're happy, the narcissist is angry and they're sulking and they've got to do something to ruin it, because of that, that pathological envy, I guess, and that they don't have that natural ability to be happy. So they've got to destroy your happiness. And what happens when you're sad and distressed and crying, I guess, disappointed? Their happiness goes up, and yours, of course, is down here. So you will never be on the same emotional playing field intentionally. And if they are, you're being manipulated.
Yeah, and I think this goes back to more conditioning from childhood. I think that, think about times maybe you went home from school, you had a good day, something you want to share with mom or dad, but mom or dad's angry. Maybe they're fighting, maybe they're upset, crying. Not the time to show, I'm happy about something. Mom and dad's emotions are more important than mine. Or we had a bad day, we come home and they're trying to have a good day, and, oh, stop being so down, stop being so negative, oh, I'm
Stop being
sure you'll
so
be fine.
selfish.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah. You're not allowed to have needs of your own. It's all about us.
Yeah.
So what do we do when we become an adult? We equate that with being normal, not getting your needs met.
Yeah, do what I say, and you're a good boy, good girl. Anything you do for yourself is just selfish and bad and wrong. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's real programming. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I guess another tactic that narcissistic parents use, which many of you will recognize, is that if you do, muster up the courage to talk about your feelings with them, as in try and make them accountable for some kind of behavior, the narcissistic parent, particularly the mother, a narcissistic mother, will burst into tears. And what does this say to a child if this continually happens? It's your needs are upsetting me. You're making me sad. So don't approach me with your feelings ever again, because it upsets me. And this is something that's instilled in us, and it stops us from doing that again.
Yeah, good point. I mean, people won't take it, accountability for what they've done. And it doesn't matter. It makes me feel bad. Keep it to yourself.
Yeah,
Can't take
yeah,
criticism. How many times we don't want to tell somebody something because we don't want to upset them. We don't want to make them mad. We don't want to make them angry at us. So we don't get out our emotions or what we need or
yeah.
what we want. Yeah.
We don't want to hurt people. We have empathy. So when someone cries, uh, when we try to express ourselves, then we think we're doing something wrong, and I guess we absorb that. Yeah, and how often does the narcissist pull out the crocodile tears to remain unaccountable for their actions, because they know that you will feel sorry for them. It will pull at your heartstrings, and they will once again avoid accountability.
Right. Yeah, yeah. I can tell you so many examples of where the mom says, "Oh, poor me, I'm just a bad mom," and now you're hurting. Now you're hurting mom's feelings for telling them how you feel. Yeah,
Yeah,
and there again, mom's feelings are more important again. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and you're
Uh,
responsible for her feelings. You're responsible for how you made her
Yeah,
feel. Mhm.
and that line in itself, when narcissists, it's so confusing when a narcissist says, "Yeah, I am a bad person. I'm just a terrible mother." You know, what does this do to someone who thinks they should love this person? It makes you want to, I guess, say to them, "No, no, no, no. You're not a bad parent. You've just got some, you've got some issues or some problems," and basically you minimize what is actually going on in this toxic, abusive relationship. But it's so confusing because here the narcissist is kind of taking responsibility by saying, "Yes, I am a bad parent. You shouldn't be with me." But it's still manipulative, because what it's designed to do is to suck you back in and use your empathy against you.
Mm. Yeah, right. The fake crying, but like you said,
Yeah,
crocodile tears, huge.
yeah.
I mean, think of a small child that just makes their mom cry. You got to be so careful. Emotional eggshells you're walking on all the
Yeah, walking on eggshells. That's how children, develop anxiety disorders, which they take with them for life. Really, is that they have to be attuned to mum or dad's emotional needs all the time, and that they develop these coping mechanisms to be what the parent wants at that particular time.
Yeah, never developing your own self. And like you said, anxiety, depression, anger, self-doubt. Yeah, awful, awful things to not know a good, solid sense of your own self to make good choices in life. And then we don't. We're not.
Yeah. Okay, we got Patrick. Scott Tanner is there. Hey, Patrick. Patrick says, if your parent is a narcissist and hovers over you like a curse and a black cloud that encounters you with other narcissists, even though you are not. Okay, so yeah, Patrick's got a narcissistic parent that is once again, doing what narcissistic parents do, which is being very controlling, even as an adult. Yeah. What do you suggest with that, David?
Well, this is what causes those problems I just said. Anxiety, depression, anger, self-doubt, not being able to make good decisions for yourself, really. Lacking massive confidence is what this instills. It's low self-worth and low self-esteem. So, any relationship like this must be on our terms if you choose to keep it. If you're not sure how to do that, you might want to separate yourself as much as possible and get help to do this.
Yeah.
Massive stress. Relationships can cause the biggest source of stress, and that can be extremely stressful, extremely,
Yeah.
because you're not getting what you need. You can't manage
Yeah.
it. You can't make it stop, it seems like usually. And so if you
Yeah.
find yourself in this, you got to separate yourself from your family somehow. Find a way to do that. If you don't know, then ask for help to do that. Literally,
Yeah.
I mean support. Yeah.
Yeah. It's about boundaries, Patrick, and often it's really difficult with families, particularly parents, because of that. Everyone chiming in, not only from society, but from other family members who have not seen the true self, who've only seen, the fake persona, the happy family that the narcissistic parent has portrayed to the world. So, they'll probably be trying to impact on your decision. But it's about boundaries. If this narcissistic parent is walking all over your boundaries, then they're toxic, and you are allowed to say no. No, you're not permitted in my circle at this time. That's my
And
right.
it's such a difficult thing for a child to do when these are the people to teach you boundaries. And instead, they're teaching you to
Exactly.
be vulnerable all the time. Be vulnerable all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really difficult. And as David said, you need lots of support to do that, because it's ingrained in you that you can't upset your parents, and you have to meet their needs. But a toxic, narcissistic parent, their needs are going to be detrimental to you and your self-care.
Yeah. Always placing yourself last, them first. Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. And it's just,
Yeah.
yeah, what a difficult thing for children. And children just grow up repeating these same patterns. So we got to do something new, something different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get away from them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always talk about divorcing your family, divorcing your parents. Yeah. But
Yeah.
these things have to be on your terms. That's the only way any kind of relationship is going to work and serve you and feel comfortable, is have it on your terms. Yeah.
Yeah. And grieving is very important with regards to coming to terms with the fact that this parent is never going to be the parent that you would love, who loves you unconditionally. There's always going to be strings attached, and it's a huge thing to accept that you're never going to have that parent that you wanted.
Yeah, good point. Write down everything you need and want from your parents. Then ask yourself if they're capable of giving these things. And if not, at some point we have to accept this and start grieving that loss, huge loss of everything we couldn't get and everything we couldn't want or we couldn't receive that we needed and wanted, and maybe never able to. Yeah.
Okay, we had oh, it's just floated away, but we had Liz Marshall there. Hey, Liz. Liz, I'm just trying to remember your question. Liz said, can you talk about the adult narcissistic child? Which is something, yeah, we don't talk a lot about, do we? Because it's mainly parents, intimate partners, that sort of thing. But once again, what do you do when it's your flesh and blood? You gave birth to this person and they're abusing you. How do you distance yourself uh, without having them out of your life forever? Because of course a narcissist is going to threaten you with what hurts you the most, and what is going to hurt a parent. What do we identify as our identity, as a mum or dad? So when a narcissistic child says, well, you'll never see me again, and you won't see your grandchildren, those types of threats, that's a terribly intimidating, scary thing for a parent to think. So we put up with the abuse, we tolerate it.
Yeah. And when I think of narcissist adult child, right, that's what they're asking about, the how
Yeah.
they're really the
Yes.
child. And I always come up or think of the man who was raised by a narcissistic mom, right? That treated him like a little child all the time, making him completely reliant on others, no self-reliance at all. And you'll often see this man be close to his mother, and the mother very involved in your relationship, your marriage, stuff like this. And really what he wants is he wants you to treat him like a child. Honestly, that's the most common thing I've seen. I'm sure a
Yeah.
lot of people out there have experienced this, who've had a
Yeah.
boyfriend or husband that was very childish and close to his mother. And you may have to do everything for them. There's cooking and cleaning and being there for him and listening to him all the time. And I'd
Yeah.
love to hear what people say that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think when it's your own child that's the narcissist, unfortunately, the same rules apply. It can just be the, you know, I guess cutting that string um, that keeps you stuck in the vortex of the abuse is terribly difficult because of those threats from the narcissist. But really the same strategies apply. Boundaries, if they are not respecting your boundaries, there's got to be consequences. uh, it's lose-lose to begin with, because yes, they will remove themselves most probably from your life, and they will probably carry out all their threats. But what's your alternative? Having a child that disrespects you, that treats you like dirt, uses you up, and everything is about them. It's I guess looking at the alternative, you've really just got your boundaries that have to be enforced consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. Best way to get rid of toxic people is say no. Go
Yeah.
slow. Yeah. Don't give them what they
Yeah.
want. Yeah.
Put a boundary in place, and if they walk all over that boundary, they're toxic, pure and simple. And the crazy thing is that we only have to enforce boundaries with the people who benefit from you having none.
Yeah. And boundaries is your comfort zone. So it's also about asking for what you want, asking for what you need, asking for reassurance. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, Liz, boundaries, it's going to be the narcissist is going to be cruel if you don't give them what they want. So when you put a boundary in place, say no, you move out. No, I'm not giving you money, or whatever it is that they're trying to take from you. They're going to want to, as all narcissists do, they will want to punish you, and they will go for what hurts you the most.
Yeah. A big lesson to learn in the beginning of relationships. That's why we go so slow. It really
Yeah,
weeds out a lot of toxic people that want something else besides just to get to know you.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay. Um, 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 um. What have we got? We've got Darla K is there. Darla says, I've been trying to divorce a narcissist for over a year, but can't reach court because he repeatedly files false charges of assault, drug use, and abuse to our children, etc. Um, I've tried for 4 years. Sorry, I've seen a forensic psychologist, and he's really good at twisting everything. I tried for 4 years, and after I finally said I was done, hold on, I think I'm gone on to another question there. Oh my goodness, slow down. Um, Facebook. Okay, let's go with, sorry about that, guys. Facebook is just making them float away before I can read them out. Let's just go with divorcing a narcissist who is making false accusations, regarding domestic violence, drug use. How often do we hear this where they're trying to wear you out? They want you to give up. They want you to spend all your money on defending yourself against these false allegations. They use the family court as an extension of the domestic violence, and they have an audience to extend that domestic violence, an audience that does not understand narcissistic abuse. How hard is this, David?
Oh, it's impossible. I've heard horrible, horrible stories where, I mean, this is where abuse, like you said, just continues, where we can't end this relationship finally and find some peace and start healing. And we have this person in our life for so many more years now. It's awful. And a lot of the court systems aren't in the benefit of victims. But I would highly recommend hire whatever help you need. Get a lawyer. If the lawyer's not helping you, find a different lawyer. That's my
Yeah,
best recommendation. And I get these questions all the time, and I feel like a broken record when I tell what to do because I have to say it so many times. But
yeah,
document everything. Keep communication just to the children, because typically a narcissist doesn't really care about the children. They're going to do this because they're still fighting with you. They're still trying to control you, and they want to win, right? They don't want to heal and feel better and look at themselves, stuff like this. They're just going to say you're the bad person. They will use these
yeah,
children as extensions of abuse in the court for abuse.
yeah,
Awful, awful situation. It really is. And this is
yeah,
the time we need to talk to somebody on a regular basis and get all kinds of support. Think of it as your team and hire people to be on your team and
yeah,
start,
yeah.
you know, I think the best thing I've ever heard or told somebody is just simply communicate through email only, and only about the children. That's the only thing you'll ever talk about.
Yeah, and yeah, document everything and have a lawyer, an attorney who is very familiar with narcissistic abuse. But I think preparation is key in that you are going, without a doubt, as sure as the sun is going to come up tomorrow, you are going to hear and read an affidavit full of pathological lies. It's what narcissists do. And this is their platform. This is their shining moment to be the victim of you, and to be in court and be the cool, calm, collected one who's been abused by the crazy, the crazy abuser, but how often do we hear about this and read about this, where the actual victim, how does a true victim act? Frustrated, distressed, frazzled, because they've been abused, and the actual abuser is cool, calm, and collected. This is not normal. So don't give them what they want. Don't give them your reactions. Let your attorney, your lawyer, talk for you, and prepare to hear lots of lies.
That's right. Yeah, it's just awful. False accusations can really, really hurt and really throw you for a loop and make you start defending yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. I think one thing it's really important to remember, and this has actually come up a lot for me, David, talking to people going through really, really terrible separations well, not separations, escaping from the narcissist, is that they, being the people that they are, they still have their moral compass on point. They still are acting, with their integrity, and rightly so. But I think one thing we have to point out is that when you're dealing with a narcissist, sometimes we have to let go of those things with regard to, like, communication. You don't owe them good manners, keeping our emotions out of it, not feeling the need to explain ourselves to them, cutting them off, going no contact. This can feel really weird, like we're being rude, like we need to at least act with integrity and be a well-mannered person. And yeah, I want to reiterate that you sometimes it really goes against your moral fiber when having to protect yourself from a narcissist, but that's what you have to do. You are not dealing with a normal person.
Yeah, we're used to dealing with sensitively emotional, sensitive people that can't, take any kind of, everything becomes rejection, right?
Yeah,
Not giving them
that
anything they want. The last cookie out of the cookie jar, you can give them every cookie, but the last one is the one they feel rejection by. Yeah, not getting
exactly.
what they want.
Yeah. A classic example I had just recently was where a lady was trying to escape the narcissist, the narcissist in her life, and this particular person was terribly abusive, financially, psychologically, numerous affairs, this type of thing, and she was trying to get out, and she wanted help with that because she was trauma bonded to her abuser. And she was telling me that she knew of the only money she had access to, that she knew of a large sum of money in the bank that he had conditioned her to never, ever touch. And when she was escaping, I said, you do yourself a safety plan, but clearly talk to your lawyer. But within the realms of being safe, you go and get that money because you're going to need it. Get every cent you can, get all your sentimental items out of the house, what means the most to you. But if you've got access to that money now, get it and let the lawyers sort it out later. No, but I can't do that. What if I just take 50% of it? Then I won't feel so bad. And this is a woman who'd been given an allowance for groceries every week for her and her children. And she just could not, out of fear, the conditioning, could not bring herself to take that money out and to be able to support herself and the children when she was escaping. And she found it really, really difficult. And I still don't know whether she took the whole amount out, if any.
Sad. I mean, self-preservation starts in childhood. If we don't have this in adulthood, we weren't taught to ever be there for ourselves. Yeah, real sad.
Yeah,
Really sad.
yeah. So that's what I mean about when we're dealing with a narcissist, sometimes we do think we feel like we're doing things to protect ourselves that just don't sit well morally with us. But you've got to remember you're dealing with a disordered, your abuser, and this is not about punishment or revenge. That's the motivation of your abuser when they abuse you. It's about punishment, revenge, demeaning you, demoralizing you, putting you down. When you're getting your own money out, or something similar, this is about the motivation in this is in protection, self-care.
Yeah. And I think when you have these rules that apply to me and not to you, how much more unequal can that be? That's totally taught in childhood. Children can't do everything that adults want to, but there's got to be some sense of your own self, and that you're equal. You're a human being with your own feelings, wants, and needs and opinions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Absolute conditioning from childhood. I think these things are really apparent. Yeah.
Okay. We've got Amanda Jane Van Davis is there. Hi, Amanda. Amanda says, does a narcissist care for anyone in their life? It's just floated away again. Does a narcissist actually care or have the capacity to care for anyone in their life, or is it everyone that they really have, I guess, no emotional connection to? Or they just pick and choose, David?
Yeah, well, I mean, do they care? Do they care for a person? That's a broad question. Care about what? Again, a big, large part of who we are our emotions and how we feel. Them lacking empathy literally means they don't understand. They don't understand how you feel. They don't understand how their actions directly affect how you feel. They don't understand it. They don't want to. And so they don't see people for who they are. They see people as objects, objectification. And I think of an object in your house. Do you care how it feels? And when you're done with it, what do you throw it away. You might miss it a few times and say, I wish that still worked. I'd like to pull it out of the garbage. I wonder if I can fix it. But that's it. Sitting there, an object in your house telling you how it feels and what it wants and what it needs all the time, that would get pretty annoying. And I don't care, and I don't want to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that's confusing for a lot of people, really trying to wrap their head, because we get asked it all the time, don't we, David? Do they know what they're doing? They couldn't possibly know what they're doing, because no one could, intentionally hurt someone like that. So it must be, involuntary. They mustn't know what they're doing. There's a big difference between not understanding with regard to empathy. That's a lack of emotional intelligence. The narcissist knows on an intellectual level what they're doing is wrong. You're telling them you are hurting me. They just don't care, because it's about them, and they have no empathy. So they know right from wrong. They know what hurts you, and they do it intentionally because that gives them a power boost. They just don't care, because they will justify it in their mind that you deserved it somehow. And your biggest clue is the fact that they know exactly what they're doing, is that they have the power to switch it on and off like a tap.
Yeah, knowing is consciousness, is awareness. They know if they hit you. They know they hit you. They didn't black out. They didn't, they know what that does. But your pain, they don't care. Doesn't matter. Just a ways to get what I want, a means. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
I mean, it explains a lot of behaviors, a lot of things they do. Lacking empathy, discarding you like garbage. They don't understand it hurts you, and they don't care. You trying to point it out is simply criticizing them. They did something bad or wrong.
Yeah. Amanda says, alcoholic and narcissist advice on that, guys. It seems so worse in a relationship. Yeah. And so often, they do have issues with drug abuse, alcohol abuse, gambling, lots of those things like that. But it's not, I guess, necessarily a must when it comes to NPD. Certainly, it is something that we hear of a lot. They have these issues because they're self-indulgent. It's all about them. But they've got their own, I guess, turmoil going on, where they are on a constant search for narcissistic supply, like a shark swimming around endlessly looking for blood, never sleeping. So they've got their own inner turmoil going on, where they have to satiate that true self and hide it, by, you know, having that false mask and showing, sustaining that at all costs. So that takes a lot of work, and that sometimes that turmoil can build. And what happens when we feel that lack of control? Anxiety. How do you stem anxiety? A lot of the time with something that with something that's addictive, like alcohol, like gambling, something that I guess you feel you can control, but certainly becomes out of control.
Yeah, addictions are rampant in personality disorders, and people who are traumatized, even people like us, not being able to regulate our emotions. Narcissist completely rejects who they are, their emotions. They'll reject these, and emotional dependency just means that I can't regulate my emotions, make myself feel better. I'm dependent on something else, whether that's an addiction, whether it's another person or relationship.
Yeah, I think with drug abuse and alcohol abuse, when it comes to narcissistic personalities, I think it's highly likely they become even more abusive, because what does alcohol do? It's I guess it loosens your tongue. It enables you to speak of your mind. So what's a narcissist going to do? They're going to spew forth what that true self is really, really thinking. And you're not going to see, you know, the false mask. You're going to see that true self in full glory. So I think that's probably the worst thing about, you know, these types of addictions, is that they do become more abusive.
Yeah, and addictions make people more narcissistic, literally. Addictions become number one most important thing in their life.
Yeah, that's
If
a
you have,
good point. Yeah.
yeah, a narcissistic parent, one type of narcissistic parent is the addict, the addicted mom or dad, and they're going to completely neglect what you need, and their addiction becomes number one, and they're going to be extremely narcissistic, whether they were a narcissist or not, whether they were not narcissistic before. But these addictions will make people very, very narcissistic. Yeah, they can.
Okay. Looking for. Who's talking? Okay, we've got. I can't see the name, but someone's asking about the trauma bond. Yeah, and we get asked this a lot, don't we, David? And rightly so, because on an intellectual level, nearly every victim of narcissistic abuse knows that they should go. This has got nothing to do with weakness. It's got nothing to do with being, you know, intellectually impaired, and it's got everything to do with being trauma bonded to your abuser. And I liken it to an addiction that you simply can't stay away from, because of a number of strategies that the narcissist has set up. The trauma bond it's about this roller coaster, where the narcissist pushes you away and then pulls you back in, and then pushes you away and pulls you back in. Now, the bond itself is, I guess, the hooks are set up in that love bombing period, and they know when you're hooked. They just have this innate ability to know when you're hooked, and that's when the mask drops. That's when the devaluing starts. And of course, what do we as normal non-disordered people do? We try and get back to that place that feels good. So this sets up a very, very powerful bond with your abuser, where the abuser has created the symptoms of the abuse, which is, I guess, withdrawal from them, and this roller coaster of emotions. And then we unknowingly look to our abuser, the very person who caused the abuse, to relieve the symptoms of the withdrawal, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
this sets up this cycle where we go back to our abusers, not because we're stupid. We know we should get out, but because it feels so bad to be without them. That's the trauma bond. And I think there's so much, we put so much focus on trying to educate victims around why they should go, and why they should get out, where I think every victim knows they should. They hate themselves. They feel all this shame because they know they're being abused, and they just can't stay away from them. I think rather than focusing all that energy on educating them why they should go, something they already know, we should be educating them on why they stay, because that's something that victims don't understand. They don't understand the concept of trauma bonding, and it's really important to have an awareness around that.
Absolutely. Well explained. And you could replace that. Your definition could be for a heroin addiction, cocaine addiction, alcoholism. Same thing.
Yeah.
It's a real chemical imbalance that can be caused.
Yeah.
PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. One of the criteria they talk about is this kind of stress or trauma that keeps going. I'm stuck and I can't heal even 2 weeks after a relationship. Right? We keep circling back and forth over what happened to us. It's hard to accept, and this becomes a chemical imbalance. It really does, where our stress chemicals outweigh our calming hormones, and we want those feel-good hormones back again, like the relationship
Yeah.
caused in the beginning, and it
Yeah.
won't. It's not, and
Yeah.
it's
It's
priceless.
easier to understand why you're feeling so broken and messed up when you're withdrawing from, I guess, heroin or alcohol. That's, you can understand that. But this is a person, it's a person. You can't be addicted to a person, can you? And this person is abusing me. Why can't I stay away? So it's extremely confusing around why you can't stay away from your abuser. But as David said, this is not just psychological. This addiction, I want you to really try and look at it in terms of an addiction. It's also physiological. It's physical. There's chemical changes in your body. The neural pathways, change in your body, and you want to get back to that high where all the dopamine receptors were being hit at once. When it's kind of like when I guess a heroin addict first starts taking heroin, and they must get this amazing high out of it. It feels so good. But then what happens when they can't live without the drug, and they need more and more and more, and they'll settle for just breadcrumbs of it? Why? To relieve the withdrawal symptoms, not because they love the drug.
Yeah. And I think this experience is so vitally important to try to understand. A lot of other things, maybe you don't need to. We move on and move forward, but this has to be something that we understand, and it can really alleviate a lot of shame from this experience. So much shame and guilt follows this. Understanding it, understanding that we're not broken and destroyed. Maybe we're injured, and I like to use that word, and we repair ourselves and heal from it. And a
Yeah.
huge part of that is understanding it,
Yeah.
alleviating
The
shame.
whole idea of narcissistic abuse is to destroy your sense of self, your sense of worth, make you dependent upon them through, the isolation and your consequent lack of self-worth, and to make you think that it was all your fault.
Mm. Mm-hmm. You deserved
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when your self-esteem has been lowered that much, it's really easy to absorb that somehow I was responsible for this, that I deserved it somehow. That confusion that the narcissist instills in you makes that possible.
Yeah, and so many more factors in not leaving these
Yeah. Oh,
kinds of
yeah.
relationships. I mean, They'll isolate you from your families and your friends. Your friends may just give up on you and the relationship you're in. How long can people that care about you witness this?
Yeah.
We get
There's,
ashamed to even
yeah,
tell people anymore, and all this becomes a secret that we're
yeah. This is
ashamed of.
what's so difficult to describe to people who haven't been through it, because there is so much to it. It's not just about someone taking selfies, which unfortunately is kind of what the general community think about narcissists. There's just so much, as you said, isolation, the strategies the narcissist uses with regard to reinforcement, using a schedule that we call intermittent reinforcement, where you're now, without even knowing it, dependent on those breadcrumbs. Why? To satiate the withdrawal pains. And the narcissist throwing out those breadcrumbs with no schedule. So what do? Like we do when we're sitting at a slot machine, a poker machine. We sit there not knowing when the win's going to come. It's the same intermittent schedule. And this is what the narcissist uses. We don't know when they're going to be nice to us. So we stick around for more and more abuse, and our boundaries are being eroded away.
Yeah, finding different coping strategies and mechanisms, but really coping to live with it instead of leave it. We tend to do.
Exactly,
Yeah, it might
exactly.
be we
Coping.
may indulge
Yeah,
ourselves in our work, things like this.
yeah,
But when our emotional life is failing bad enough, it will leak into every other part of our life. We may lose our job. We may not have finances anymore to leave. We may have children to watch out for. So many different factors, and it just causes more and more shame.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, we've got Michael Richard there. Hi, Michael. Michael says they are so afraid of being exposed. When my mum tried to commit suicide, my dad tried to have her committed and I got her out. Can you imagine doing that to your own wife? I can absolutely imagine a narcissistic partner doing that without their pulse changing. Absolutely. And what a in these particular situations, it's done under the guise of caring. So they're able to, sustain that false mask and look like the martyr who's helping the erratic, mentally ill wife by having her placed in care so that someone can look after her. So he comes across as the hero. The true victim comes across as crazy, and the abuser once again controls the situation, a typical situation where the victim is looking like the erratic, frantic, crazy person, and the abuser is in charge and acting out of a sense of caring about that person. It's
Yeah,
so manipulative.
control really is the word. Narcissists, you may not be aware of how much they believe they had control over you or that they did have control over you. And when they feel they don't have control over you anymore, they'll start trying to control everyone's perception of you around you. If I can't control you, I'll control others around you. The biggest thing I've ever seen is, or the most common, is I see parents that were very controlling to their children now be adults and able to make their own choices. And they start doing this, the parents feel they have no control over them anymore. And they'll call services and say they're trying to commit suicide. They'll start controlling them that way. Awful,
Yeah,
awful. And then you're
yeah.
sitting there
Once,
defending yourself that they don't want to commit suicide. Yeah.
yeah, once again, just terribly abusive, but how does it look to the outside? It looks like you're concerned about them. So
Yeah.
they get at you, they get at you, they get to let you know that they've got control of you, they can get at you some way. And to other people who are ignorant, naive, they look like this caring person who's really worried about your welfare.
Yeah. This is when the ex-boyfriend who never met your parents is now reaching out to your parents and telling them how they're concerned about you, smearing you. This is when they go to your job and try to get you fired, try to get you to lose money, finances, any way they can to control you. Maybe you'll go back to them. Maybe you'll finally do what they want.
Yeah, yeah. They
Often.
flip on a dime, don't they? One minute they can be emailing you going, you're going to regret that you ever left me and I'm going to make your life so difficult. And the next second they're going, I miss you so much. Do you remember, when we did this and this song that was ours, and bringing up all of these memories to trigger you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but what is a victim who's been confused? What do they hold on to with that cognitive dissonance? They often dismiss the abuse. The abuse maybe is in a distant memory. It's been a while since you've been abused, and you're triggered by the happy memories based on the illusion of the nice person.
Yeah, holding on to that projected false self, they projected that mask, believing that's true. That's who they really are. So
Yeah.
common. I have clients tell me that, yes, but they're all so good. They're all so nice. They're also this. That's not really them.
Yeah.
As if excusing a whole other side of themselves.
Yeah. So yeah, a really good point. So we need to ask ourselves, when we're being abused, this person who's up here and made you feel up here, and you were made to feel like a goddess or a god, and who's never made you feel, there's no one on the face of the earth who's ever made you feel better. By the same token, when they're abusing you, there's never been anyone else who's made you feel worse about yourself and just made you feel like you're giving up. Those two people don't exist in the same body. Someone who loves us does not want to send you rock bottom. Okay, so what you've got to remember is that anyone can pretend to be nice, but no one who's genuinely a nice, empathic, compassionate person pretends to be an evil, destructive person. Those people don't exist in the same body. And you've got to ask yourself, if you're saying that, oh yeah, but they're so good to me on these occasions, what percentage of your life or this relationship is it okay to be abused? Is it okay for them to abuse you 10%? Is it 20%? What is okay for you to be abused? It should be zero.
Yeah, how many con men are nice? All of them.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. They want something from you. They want the narcissistic supply that you give them. And they have a PhD in manipulation. And
Yeah,
they
and
can
I
make you
mean,
feel so good.
yeah, and the common way they approach it, the common approach is be nice, be your friend, flatter you, and feel sorry for me, empathize with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Align
all.
with them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Align with them. Feel their pain. So what does the narcissist do when they're setting up the hooks by being that amazing person? They're mirroring you. They're your soulmate because they're listening. They're a robot gathering data about what you like, what you don't like, and they are mirroring all of this back to you.
Yeah, and again, I always go back to childhood. A lot of this is our what we didn't get at home. Maybe we didn't get enough love, enough attention. It didn't really feel good, and here it is. Here's all the love and attention I needed, and it feels amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
start making plans right away, future plans.
yeah, exactly. Okay. We've got Patrick Scott Tanner is there. Patrick says, being sick and broke, you can't leave. Been trying to get disability for years. She's on her deathbed and now I'm homeless. I didn't grow up poor. Okay, so it sounds like the narcissist has set that up so that you can't leave. It's never a coincidence when there's a narcissist involved. They have set that situation up, I guess, to make you dependent on them uh, for as long as they possibly can. And yeah, this is what narcissistic parents do to their own children.
Yeah,
They deny individuality, that independence they frown upon. They want you to be dependent on them, even if it's just in making basic decisions. They want you to ask for their opinion.
And finances, especially financial exploitation and abuse, is almost 100% present in abusive relationships, and it always starts first. Everybody, financial equality must exist in relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. What have we got? We've got Charmaine Hughes is there. Hi, Charmaine. Charmaine says it's not just your partners, it also can be your grown-up child. Yeah, we spoke about that earlier, Charmaine, that does this to you. I was even physically attacked by my daughter. Yeah, I hear about this a lot. And it's about boundaries and consequences. If anyone, even your own child, is attacking you, you have every right to protect yourself. Call the police. Okay, you've got to remember the narcissistic child has that massive sense of entitlement. I can do whatever I want. I can live here because I'm your child and you can't do anything about it. So this is, I guess, conditioned in the parent, the non-abusive person, and they feel obligated to keep that abusive child under their roof because it's their biological child. But it's about consequences. We teach them how to treat us, I guess, in their mind by what we tolerate. So when there's no consequences and they get away with it, why would they stop?
Yeah, and this is
They have
typically
that sense of entitlement.
yeah, right. And I mean, especially when they're adults, they're adults. When they're finally, or if they're an adult, you got to protect yourself. But I think one of the hardest things to teach parents that don't do this is that mom and dad come first. Take care of yourself first. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not okay for them to do what they do if they mistreat you at any age.
Yeah.
But I see this a lot
Yeah.
as adults. I see them a lot growing up as adults and start becoming very abusive. And
Yeah.
and a mom or dad feeling this sense of I still got to take care of them, or taking responsibility for how they are an adult. Like it's I made them like this. I'm responsible for this. Yeah. You're not responsible for anyone's behaviors. Period.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Jaella Johnson is there, and Jella says they say nobody will love you like them. Yeah, it's a classic line, isn't it? You'll never have anyone who loves you like me. Well, if that's the case, then that's great. Yeah, you don't want anyone who loves you like them. But yeah, certainly not making light of what's happened to you, Jaella. But what's their version of love? Love is an ongoing, consistent pattern of behaviors that says to you, you're valued, you're respected, I have your back, you can trust me. That's love. Little spits and spurts so that they get what they want. By a narcissist, that is just the most manipulative word on the face of the earth. It's designed to manipulate you, but they've got you in a position where they've eroded your boundaries away and lowered your self-esteem, made you dependent on them for your self-worth, that you actually take this into consideration, that they do actually love you. But what's happening here, once again, you're being taught that love and abuse go hand in hand together.
Yep, absolutely. And this comes towards the end of the relationship, right? When your self-worth is all the way down, when you've compromised your values, when you've numbed how you feel, you don't know, maybe even know who you are anymore. We feel completely dependent, and our self-worth and everything is in their hands. Yeah, and they know this. They know this.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say to my beautiful clients that the last thing you should do, we all know they're pathological liars. So the last thing you should do is base your self-worth on the opinions of a sociopath, because they are a pathological liar. So when they're telling you that, oh, you'll be nothing without me, really think about that, reflect on it. I'm actually considering that what they're saying has value in it, when I know that they're a pathological liar and they have an agenda in bringing me down.
And this is pure dependency, isn't it? It's like someone saying, I'm going to take away your heroin. I'm going to take away the alcohol. Yeah. Frantic. Maybe.
Yeah. When we're not ready to acknowledge what's actually going on, and that we're dependent on this toxic roller coaster of emotions in this relationship, then we're not ready to acknowledge what is actually going on. So what do we need to do then? Therefore, to be able to survive the trauma, we need to make the abuse not as bad as it is. So we minimize, we rationalize it away. A lot of the time we even defend the abuse because we know at that time we can't get out, so we've got to survive the trauma.
Same thing you hear in heroin addicts, right?
Exactly.
You lost your job, you're losing your health, you look like crap, nobody else is in your life anymore. And they'll all agree to it. Yeah, it is, but I still want the heroin.
Yeah. So yeah, it takes a commitment to break that trauma bond. It has to be the number one thing in your life. If someone is seriously wanting to break away, let's just use heroin as an example. They're not going to go, oh, I'll just stop. I know that one day it's going to happen. I'll just wake up and not want heroin anymore. It just doesn't happen. So you have the heroin addict who was serious would, I guess, go to rehab. They would set up a support system. They would get, a sponsor, like someone in Alcoholics Anonymous would do. But they would preempt the bad days when there's going to be major withdrawal and cravings, and they would set up a system of support. This is just what you guys need to do to break this invisible handcuff to your abuser.
Yeah, support. So important. Most important thing you said, support.
Yeah.
This is so hard to do alone. It could be impossible.
Very hard to do alone. Okay, who else have we got here today? We've got Debbie Bennett is there. Debbie says, how do you handle when the children become the supply? How do you protect them? He has shared custody. Yeah, it's terrible, terribly frustrating, painful when you can see the children are being manipulated and you have to watch them go to that parent's house, and they're going to be gaslighted, they're going to be used as a pawn. A lot of the time the system has set this up. They're protecting the abuser, and you're powerless. What do you do?
Awful situation. I think it's important to have children in some kind of therapy where they can talk, because sometimes they may feel they can't talk to you. Maybe they can talk to somebody neutral. And if we're talking about a narcissistic father, what kind of other male role models do they have in their life? I've noticed that makes a huge difference. Think of a child therapist that's a man, maybe, right? Let's have some good men in their life so they see what is a good man. Who is a good man? Maybe my father is not. Yeah, and we don't tell them that.
Yeah. It's really, really hard, Debbie. I guess we've got to look at the fact that children are simply forms of narcissistic supply for the parent. They're objectified, but with whatever system the narcissist has set up, with one child being a golden child and the other child being a scapegoat child, a system has been set up at all times where the narcissist is getting their supply. So the child, like you, would have been trauma bonded to your abuser at one stage. Children become trauma bonded to their parent, but they've got no idea about addictions and things like that, and they think, as we all do as kids, that our parents love us, so they're doing whatever they're doing out of love. And they too, if they haven't, I guess, got that ongoing roller coaster, trying to be hyper vigilant to dad's moods, they're going to be in withdrawal from that person. They're going to come up with their own coping mechanisms to be able to stay and, you know, and survive in that environment. And it's extremely difficult when you can see from the outside, now that you're out of the fog, you can see what's going on. But a lot of the time, especially when they're very young, the children can't. So if they're being used as supply, as David said, yeah, therapy, even when they're really little, play therapy, sand therapy. Certainly, we never denigrate the other parent, because children feel, well, they feel torn between their parents, and because it's what the narcissist wants you to do. They want to be, you know, that perhaps that parent who gives them everything, and then you coming across as the nasty one that hates them, and it just sets up a pattern where the narcissist can continue to use those children for supply. But I guess you are the only appropriate parent, so make your home the happy home, the appropriate home with normal, you know, rules and boundaries in place, and don't I guess try and denigrate and the other parent. You can talk to them at an age appropriate level. You know, perhaps it's better as they get older, David, about what is abuse and what's not abuse. But I think it's more so about making your home a total contrast to the narcissist's home.
Yeah, find out everything you can do, and then try to accept the things that you can't do, that you don't have control over. I think that's really important. Lots of things you
Yeah,
can do, and that's be healthy. The best mom, best dad is the healthiest one. So try to
yeah,
continue to work on yourself, and keep that structured environment for your children. Believe it or not, children do want that. They want a regiment, a structure. It might be fun for a week or two to get everything we want and need and play all the time, but children really need a schedule. They need, you know, healthy meals, and to be told to clean their room and stuff like that. So don't overcompensate and try to compete.
yeah. I think having an acceptance, or, you know, you made a really good point in that, having acknowledging what you can change and what you can't change. You have got no power. Like, I mean, short of overt child abuse, where you can, you know, go to child protective services, call the police, you can't control what goes on in that home. You can only control what goes on in your own home. You can't stop the gaslighting and things like that. It's insidious. But you can, I guess, get them into therapy where they can, you know, be uh, spoken to by a professional around their thoughts and concerns, with someone who they don't feel has an agenda, but an acceptance that you can't, you have no power around changing what goes on in that home.
Yeah, a court order is you don't have control over that. We have to try to accept that and do the best we can. Around the world, I've seen child courts, divorce courts, family courts. They place so much importance on that mom and dad are in their lives, and almost to the point where it doesn't matter who mom and dad are. And
Yeah,
that's a very difficult thing to accept, but you know, be as healthy as you can too. So
yeah.
important.
It's yeah. A lot of the time, there's more importance on that, and I'm certainly not saying that that shouldn't be taken into account. What's fair, but overall, what's the most important is the best interests of the child. That's paramount.
Yeah, don't lose sight of that because they have. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, we might just answer a couple more, David, before we call it a wrap. Uh, do, 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 do. I wonder if I can open yours up. Okay, we've got April Martinez there. April says, my mum would always threaten to take me to my dad's when I didn't act right, and would pack my bags and put them in the car. I didn't know my dad, and I didn't know back then that she didn't know where he was. It terrified me. Oh my goodness, how manipulative. Uh, yeah, what have you got to say about that, David?
Oh, it's awful.
Yeah,
It's like good cop, bad cop, isn't it, with your children?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're here today, April, then I'm assuming that what you're saying is that you believe your mum is a narcissist. Therefore, she's manipulative. She's acting in her own best interest. So, if to me, what that says is if you not acting right was probably you trying to express your feelings, you expressing to her that you had needs, and of course you're not allowed to have needs as a child of a narcissist. So that was her threat to get at you. I'm going to threaten you with something that absolutely terrifies you unless you do what I want.
Way to break them down completely. Yeah. And again, not equal, right? What I want is more important than how I feel is more important than you. So unimportant. Hard
Okay.
damage to recover from and heal from. Yeah. I think there's so many people that don't.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, we've got Shelley Hess is there. Shelley says, how do you find a therapist who specializes in this? So that's what David and I do. Shelley, David is a life coach who specializes in narcissistic abuse recovery, and that's my area of expertise. I'm a counselor here in Brisbane, Australia. Yes, unfortunately, there's not enough therapists out there. I wish there were who really understand the dynamic of this insidious type of abuse. So it's very, very important to find someone who gets it. Put your feelers out on your support groups. Look for a narcissistic abuse recovery group online. There's a few of them on Facebook, and make sure that you have someone who gets it. I always say that having any counselling is not better all the time than no counselling, because if you've got the wrong therapist, you're going to be re-victimized, re-traumatized when they maybe unknowingly minimize your abuse.
Yeah, the psychological damage that comes from these abusive relationships is humongous, and we need to know the truth and understand the wrong help can really solidify this damage that it causes. You know, imagine just parents teaching you some illusion that all that matters is what you do for us, right? Like I said before, you're good boy, bad boy, is for doing what we want, and anything you do for yourself is selfish. And then you go to a therapist when you finally grow up, and that therapist starts telling you the same thing. Well, you should have
Yeah.
just listened. You should have been better. You should do this. Go your favorite, I know, is write them a letter and tell them you're sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
right.
think
Tell
it's
them how you
extremely
feel.
yeah.
You're being told this by a therapist. Tell your send your abuser a letter, letting them know they've hurt you. I think they know damn well they've hurt you and exactly what they've done. They've actually enjoyed it. So when we're told by a professional to tell this person, pour out your heart to them, all of your emotions. What are we doing with a toxic narcissist? We're giving them weapons to use against us. We're being re-traumatized, and it's really bad advice.
Absolutely. And I think every professional, they should know whether they're helping their clients or not. And if a client needs a certain degree, a certain amount of help, anything less than that really is an injustice and can do more damage.
Yeah,
So how do you
yeah,
find one? She asked, how do you find, I think it was she asked, how do you
yeah,
find
yeah,
one? It may not be easy. Don't give up. Don't see one that isn't helping you and give up. And having low self-worth is just so difficult to try to find people that can help us to keep trying and keep searching.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
And
so
don't be told, yeah, don't be told by someone, the courts even, that you should go to counselling with your abuser. You know, it makes me so mad, David, when the victim is told to go and sit in a counselling office to try and sort things out with their abuser. you didn't do anything wrong. These are not relationship issues. They're issues of abuse, putting you back in a situation where you can be intimidated and feel like you have no voice and you're already conditioned by that person, is a terribly naive and ignorant thing to tell them. It's like, I hear about at schools when children are being bullied. And this is something that, if you're a principal or a teacher out there to take note of, telling a child who's been bullied to sit in an office with their bully and to let's sort this out. Let's get you two together and get you, to be friends. I think is a terribly traumatizing thing to do, and it kind of puts the onus on the victim to say, shake hands and say, hey, I'm sorry to the abuser, that everything's okay. When these, once again, these are not relationship issues. The victim didn't do anything wrong. It's the bully who should be in that office solely, who should be, I guess, doing everything in their power to gain insight around their behavior, correct that behavior, but certainly putting the bully, the abuser, in the same room with the victim and say, make up, it's traumatizing to the victim.
That's right. Yeah, I think, well, it's vitally important to identify whether these problems are the relationship problems, or is it their self problems, the problems we have in ourself that is coming into these relationships and causing problems, because a marriage counselor is not going to help someone with a personality disorder. And yeah. The focus can't be just on the relationship. Somebody needs help. They need help. And I think there again, we're conditioned to accept people's problems and try to help and fix that. How many times you hear that word help? I just wanted to help them. And they need more help than you have to offer.
I want them someone else. Like they for some reason they're just not, they don't take notice of me when I'm telling them you're abusing me. So maybe if I take them to a counselor, the counselor will be able to convince them that what they're doing is wrong. They already know what they're doing is wrong. They are only going to manipulate that counselor and use that counselor to get at you, re-traumatize you. And the other thing to really reflect on is why. I'm not judging here, I'm really not, but I want you to reflect on, why should you go to a counselor to have someone else teach your abuser the absolute basics of human decency? I mean, if they're calling you disgusting names and they're putting you down and they're making you feel terrible about yourself consistently, a counsellor's not going to be able to convince them that, that's something they shouldn't be doing. They already know that. They just don't care.
Yeah, really accepting that someone is sick, but not really accepting them for who they actually are, right? Hoping that they'll be somebody else, the person they were in the beginning of the relationship.
Yeah,
Nice.
There's a lot of once again, getting back to the trauma bond, the addictive nature of that trauma bond. There's a lot of denial involved with addiction, isn't there?
Absolutely. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to make this work, and if I can't make this work, I'll lie to myself.
Yeah. Or something else I hear a lot of is looking for reasons that they're not a narcissist, and toing and froing and go, oh, this person in my life doesn't do that, so maybe they're not a narcissist. When on a logical level, they're looking for that diagnosis because the thought of not having that drug in their life is just too overwhelming, and they cling on to the fact that, well, if they're not a narcissist, then I can fix them. They do have the capacity to change.
Yeah, I mean, we accept our environments that we can't change, and these relationships, obviously there's that element that they feel they can't leave, trapped. It's like if people in prison, they make it as best as they can. They make it as cozy as they can, right? And they might even tell you, I've seen prisoners, it's not that bad in here. You know, I get my TV and I got my bed and my pictures on the wall, and it's like, it's not that bad. Huh? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You get conditioned to look at what's around you. You normalize it because you have to. You have to make it not as bad as it is because you can't escape. And then sometimes when they open the door, you know, the bird that's been in a cage for 20 years, and someone comes along and opens the door and says, wow, you're free, you can go. They don't want to because it's familiar to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
very familiar. I think this starts in childhood. I do.
Yeah.
For most. Yeah.
Okay, well, we might leave it there today, David. Thank you so much for joining me here. It's awesome to have you here as always. Do you want to tell everyone where they can find you and where to subscribe to your YouTube channel?
Yeah, you bet. My YouTube channel is called Demars Coaching, and you can find me on my website at daviddemars.com. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for having me again.
Wonderful.
I love doing these videos, and I love listening to your
Awesome.
viewers' questions. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah, you'll definitely see David again in a few weeks. So yeah, do yourself a favor, guys. Subscribe to David's channel, and yeah, we'll see David here again to co-host the show in I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks' time. Thanks, David.
And to people on my end, you can find Nova. Go ahead and tell them, Nova. Yeah, because you do these
Yeah,
videos
just
often still. Yeah.
yeah, every few weeks. Yeah, just come here to Facebook, look for Brighter Outlook Narcissistic Abuse Counseling Service, or on Instagram at Nova's Narcissist Abuse Recovery. And I look forward to seeing you there.
I've got a link down below in the description box. Thank you, Nova.
Okay.
I'll see you
Awesome.
again
Okay,
soon.
take care, David. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, let me say goodbye. There we go. Okay, everyone, I hope that you were able to get something out of the live stream. It's been a fantastic afternoon for me here in Brisbane. Love doing these live streams. I especially love doing them with David, who is such a wealth of knowledge. Don't forget, guys, if you would like to have a one-on-one counselling session with me, please just inbox me here at Brighter Outlook. And I guess what we would ask of you, and only within the realms of being safe, if you possibly can, please share the live streams, maybe to a private support group or on your public page if it's safe to do that. And it just helps to spread awareness around narcissistic abuse. Yeah. So yeah, please contact me if you would love a one-on-one session, and I would love to be able to support you in your healing journey or to escape. Okay, guys, have a wonderful couple of weeks. As always, remember your worth and then add tax. Bye, everyone.